Also developing tonight, the controversy surrounding the leader of the NAACP chapter in Spokane, Washington. Very odd story that has emerged today. Rachel Dolezal is accused of lying about her race. Trace Gallagher, live in our West Coast newsroom tonight with that story. Hi, Trace.
Hi, Martha. She's been called out as a fraud, but instead of apologizing, 37-year-old Rachel Dolezal is doubling down, telling a Spokane TV station that she does consider herself black, and it's the rest of us who don't understand the definition of race and ethnicity. Dolezal says she's black and white. Her birth parents say she's German and Czech, and they have the pictures and birth certificate to support their claim. The parents say Dolezal does have adopted siblings who are black, and she attended a mostly black school in Mississippi, but that's as far as it goes. Listen.
She knows it's false, but I think she's told herself, as well as she's told others, this erroneous identity of hers enough that by now she may believe it more than she believes the truth.
Rachel Dolezal says she no longer considers them her parents. She has posted pictures on social media describing this older African-American man as her father. But watch what happened when a local Spokane reporter confronted her about her so-called dad.
African-American?
I don't understand the question. I did tell you that, yes, that's my dad. And he was unable to come in January.
Are your parents, are they white?
It's not just her ethnicity being challenged. Dolezal says she was raised in a teepee and hunted for food with a bow and arrow, and that because she's black, she's been the victim of hate crime, saying she once found an envelope in the NAACP post office box with pictures of lynchings. The post office says there was no postage on the envelope, and whoever put it in the box had a key. Dolezal's parents say she went to Howard University on a full-ride scholarship because she said she was black. She now teaches a class at Eastern Washington University called The Black Woman's Struggle. But the NAACP says she's been a good president and a key social justice advocate. Here she is last month with Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby. The Spokane NAACP says, quoting here, one's racial identity is not a qualifying criteria or disqualifying standard for NAACP leadership. The NAACP stands behind Ms. Dolezal's advocacy record. And for now, it appears she will remain the president. Martha.
Okay. Trace, thank you. This is an unusual story on many levels. Joining me now to talk about this, Richard Fowler, nationally syndicated radio host, Chris Harris, the executive director of Unhyphenatedamerica.org, and A. Scott Bolden, a criminal defense attorney and former member of the NAACP. Gentlemen, welcome. Very good to have all of you with us tonight. Chris, I want to start with you. What do you make of this?
When I first heard the story, I just kind of smiled because I found myself sitting there thinking, well, the number one question is she black? And then, of course, then I found myself sitting there thinking, well, it depends upon what the meaning of the word is. And, of course, at this point, what difference does it make? I mean, if that's what she feels, we're in a world, right?
These sound oddly familiar.
Yeah, they sound familiar. We're in a world where, however someone feels is what matters. I mean, Bruce Jenner's a woman. So why can't she be black?
Because he feels more like a woman than a man.
She feels like that. So that's the world we live in now, right?
Black than white, even though her parents, according to those nice people that we saw on the screen earlier, and I'm sure the other man that she says is her dad is also very nice, but her parents say that they're her parents, and they're both white, and they say that she is of Czech and German descent. I mean, the whole thing is so weird. Scott, what do you think's going on here?
Well, let me just say this. When you said Bruce Jenner, I started thinking about transracial, and then who knows where that's going to go viral one way or the other or not. But let me just say this. Her good works, her desire to be black or to help communities of color is fine. My problem is the deception. That when you claim a race, when you claim a culture, when you claim a history that is not yours, that is one of the greatest deceptions you can have. Yeah. Now, you couple that with claiming a scholarship, claiming a black father and a black son, claiming a job and a public commission as she has because she's black and filled out forms saying she's black, that could almost be illegal. And so I think this is really not about her race or what she chooses to be, because We know that white abolitionists, for over the course of history, slavery, have always had biracial support for black causes and civil rights causes.
Absolutely.
And here, the thing is that she didn't have to do this.
Exactly.
She could be white and do all these great things and
she
stuff.
could
And
say,
so
I
the
was raised
deception-
with, with siblings who were adopted, who were black. I'm very close to them. I understand, the cause that we're fighting for here, and I'm very qualified to lead this organization. But that is not what she said, and that is not what she checked off in the boxes.
It's just unnecessary.
It raises a really central question here, Richard, and I want to address this to you. Does this mean, at this point, and you bring up Caitlyn Jenner and Bruce Jenner, and we're talking about this woman who says she feels more black than white. So why don't we just dump all the boxes that we check off in life, right? Why don't we just skip it, because we're all Americans, and why do we need to have an NAACP at this point, Richard, and different organizations that represent different groups if we're all just going to be what we feel? Richard?
Well, here's the thing. Thanks for having me, Martha. One, I think the NAACP serves a valuable cause to sort of promote social, justice and liberty under the law for every single American, whether they're black, white, red, yellow, or purple. And they've always stood for that. And her work, whether separate and apart from
then why not just call it, the Organization for the Advancement of People?
Well, here's the thing. Her work in the organization is separate and apart from the fact that she happens to be Caucasian or happens to be black. Her work still speaks for itself, and I think that's sort of the sad part here and the irony. But I want to say there's a distinction between what we see here and the Jenner cases. In the Jenner case, the DSM-5, which just came out a couple months ago, says that transgenderism is actually something that you can be, according to all the medical professionals out there. You can be transgender. This ideal of waking up one day and just saying I'm black is completely and totally separate and apart from that.
I have to disagree with that. I had to disagree. I mean, at the end of the day, listen, I was being sarcastic in the beginning. We're in la la land here with all this. And on top of that, one of the problems I have with her is that she was trying to take advantage of a special protected class. And as Mr. Bolden said, it was deception outright, which is crazy because if you know the history of the NAACP, of the approximately 13 people who are regarded as founders, like 10 of them are white, and the first national president was white. And the only person who was a member of the executive committee, the officers, was W.E.B. Du Bois in the beginning. So, it's an organization of socialist-minded people who, they're not fighting for equality. Not equality under the law. They're fighting for special privileges, and she knows to take advantage of that.
Wait 1 second. If you're talking about the same NAACP that fought for Brown versus the Board of Education, or the same NAACP who passed the Voting Rights Act, and socialism, then I will take socialism for 500, Alex. But I think what we're talking about is an organization that has always stood up for the rights of people, the right of people to vote, the right of people to go to desegregated schools, the right of people to live in communities no matter what.
But they're not fighting for the rights for parents to be able to put their kids in whatever school they want to put their kids in.
Maybe we should have a psychologist on, because it's very odd when you work for this organization, as you just pointed out in discussing the history. She didn't need to say that she was anything other than the heritage that she is, and she could have argued that she was qualified to lead this organization, but that's not what she did, which is what makes it so odd. And the fact that her parents, or the people who outed her, is also kind of odd. Scott, before we go, I want to ask you, do you think there are charges that could be filed here? You mentioned that.
Well, absolutely. At the local level and federal level, depending on how she filled out these applications, whether it was at Howard University or for this public police commission, she had to fill it out in regard to race, because these public documents, if you want a racially and gender balanced commission, for example, that's important. That scholarship money is federal money that came through Howard. Now, that was years ago, so it's probably a moot issue right now. But the reality is they are investigating her locally right now to see whether she lied on a federal application, because we all know that anytime you submit a document to the federal government, at the end of every application or document is that you're making a sworn statement that you're telling the truth. And the fact of the matter is, if she checked black, or checked black and some other ethnic background, then she's lied to the local as well as the federal government. Now, what comes of that, who knows? But the reality is, the deception about this story is the problem for her, not her great work or her commitment to communities of color.
Well, I go back to the main point, which is maybe we don't need the boxes anymore. Maybe we should just forget the boxes.
Ban the boxes.
Exactly. Senator Warren, actually. What about Senator Warren checking the box for, for Native Americans?
At this point in American history, we've all got a lot lot of things, you know, that we could dig up in our background and check lots of boxes. So maybe we should just bag them all together. Gentlemen, thank you. Great conversation. We got to leave it there. But thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you.
So it's being called the most